Om Maganatimarandasyan Ganangana Sarakya Chaksurun Militam Yana Tajmai Suyadivaya Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yana Bhutare Sayam Rupakaramayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Larita Shri Vishikanvitam Scha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tenamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishes Sunivadi Praskita Desadhari Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayodhira Nishta Parayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Uttamashuki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Nigamaka Parurgaritam Padam Shukamakaram Rita Savi Samitam Pibata Bhagatam Ashamariam Mahora Horasi Bhuvi Bhaukaham Krishna Swadam Upagate Dhamagini Hishaha Karunasta Dishamasha Parana Kodunoditaham Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Good morning, Sanjay. Three people, of which I know one is Sanjay. Motivational Monday, coming to you from Spanish Fork, Utah. This is the Monday after a celebratory weekend. We enjoy. Good morning, Rupa Manjari. Good morning, Stoka Krishna. Good morning, Bhai Bhavi, Haribo. We had Diwali / Govardhan Puja last weekend. I hope it was good wherever you're situated. I know it was in Salt Lake City. We scaled it down considerably because of COVID. We did not have the fireworks that we normally have, and we did not have the big dance performance in the auditorium. But we had the circumambulation of Govardhan Hill. Good morning, Jimmy and Taruni. Hare Krishna. We had the lighting of lamps. We had a beautiful arti. I gave a talk. Much of it is on our Facebook page, having been recorded, broadcast on Facebook Live, and preserved. It's also on our YouTube channel. So if you weren't able to get to your local Diwali celebrations, or if they were closed or extremely limited in terms of attendance, you can attend the celebration after the fact that we had in Salt Lake City. We also had a wonderful Sunday feast yesterday also with lots and lots of interested young people. Things are going on here. We closed in April and May, but we opened up June 1st, so it's been almost 7 months that we've been operating amidst the pandemic, observing social distancing and wearing masks. And so far, so good. Knock on wood, in an era when many of the temples are closed. By Krishna's mercy, we've remained open, active, received lots and lots of visitors, and trying at the same time to walk that tightrope between preaching and carrying on the missionary work of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and keeping ourselves safe, healthy, and able to continue on. So give us your blessings so maybe we continue to do so. This is the fourth time we're coming back to this verse. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Parana Paramisama Uttama Soki Charidam Chakaran Nisriyasya Lokasha Danyam Swastiyara Mahat. Fourth time. It's the 40th verse in the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And once again, probably got it memorized now. This Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful story of the Absolute Truth, is a literary incarnation of God and is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. Good morning, Divya. Haribo. The incarnation, hope you had a good Diwali. Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. As a potent drug, when it's injected intravenously, acts at once on the whole body. Similarly, the topics about the name, form, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, when they're injected, even in minute quantity, into the ear of those who are devotees of the Lord, it can very, very efficiently act in order to immunize the entire body from the material infection, just like a vaccine. We're searching for a vaccine to immunize us from the coronavirus, but then there are so many other viruses out there, so many other bacteria, so many other dangers that come from 3 different sources: material nature, typhoons, tsunamis, hurricanes, from other living beings, as well as from our own body and mind. We have so many troubles that are right here at home. But the topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam can immunize you from all viruses, from all bacteria, from all diseases, from all threats from other living beings, and it can put you in a perfectly healthy mental and physical state. Not only that, it's pleasant, it's joyful, it's done in the company of like-minded people with good food and dancing and musical instruments and high-minded culture. It's accompanied by joy, peace, inner satisfaction, integrity. Such a deal. Such a deal. Most people are imagining, against all logic, that they're going to get satisfaction by pursuing external things. As soon as they conceive a hankering, a desire, an appetite for something, first thing they have to do is make sure they have the funds. If they don't have the funds, they have to earn the money. And then they have to go out and buy it. And then they have to read the instructions and learn how to work it. For a little while, they get some pleasure, but it quickly fades. Junkyards are full of things that once people just had to have. They mortgaged, they rented, they went into debt in order to get them, and now they're sitting amongst weeds in the junkyard. Imagine the benefit of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In material life, hearing is just the beginning of a long process which involves earning money, purchasing, learning how to work it, enjoying it for a little while, getting tired of it, and disposing of it. A long process which consumes vast amounts of time and energy and money, at the end of which you just throw it away. Look for some other bauble or bangle. Compare that to the process of inoculating yourself with the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In material life, hearing is just the beginning of a long, frustrating process, which ends in disappointment and even anger. But in spiritual life, hearing is the beginning, middle, and end. You hear in order to hear, in order to hear, in order to hear, in order to hear, more deeply, more fully. You don't hear about something external that then you have to go running after it like water in the desert, like a mirage in the desert. The hearing is the substance. The hearing is both the ends and the means for your satisfaction. No trouble, no fuss. Just sit down with the right association and hear. That's all. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What makes it so easy and so powerful? The fact that God, who is creator of millions and millions of universes, he has all power. Nothing is impossible for him. No matter how fallen or black-hearted you are. Good morning, Gurcharan. Good morning, Sachi. No matter how fallen you are, no matter how many mistakes you've made, no matter what disqualifications you think you have, God still loves you, and he's still able to redeem you. Nothing you've done is beyond the power of God's mercy to redeem you. Also, he loves you. He created you. He sees you differently. He doesn't rush to condemn you like strangers and outsiders. Every parent sees their child in a different, altogether more loving, generous, forgiving light. And he's in your heart. So those all factors combined make it possible just to sit down and achieve everything that's desirable to achieve in life, beginning, not ending, but beginning with the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and then complementing that basic process of chanting with the topics and discussion of the activities and pastimes of the Lord as described and is sung by his pure devotees in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Here's the actual applicable verse, 17th verse in the second chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam. We passed that a few weeks ago. Srinvatam Shakata Krishnam. Hearing the katha of Krishna, punya shravanam kirtanam, hearing and chanting, repeating and chanting, and then remembering makes you pious in and of it yourself. Hridantashtu abadani, the Lord is within your heart, and he becomes active when you activate your chanting When you activate your God consciousness, then God activates himself for within the heart. Buddhinati saritatam. And he gives you a complete makeover. He completely cleans, gives you a heart transplant. He takes out the old, dirty, encrusted heart, and he gives you a brand new heart. Why does he do that? Why does he even accompany you throughout so many incarnations where we've been indifferent to and we've forgotten God, we've turned our backs on him? Why does he even bother to accompany us throughout the various species of life as the super soul, the oversoul within the heart? Well, there's no really why to it, other than the fact, you may say, well, why does someone love somebody? You can say, well, because they're good looking, because they're intelligent, but that really doesn't explain love. Because love is not the result of a process of logical deduction. You don't assess the person, calculate their good qualities and their eccentricities, and then you decide logically, coolly, and rationally to fall in love with them. Love has nothing to do with rationality. In fact, more often than not, we fall in love with someone because of their faults, because of their shortcomings, which we find attractive and complimentary. So why does God do all this for us? Hey, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Don't question it. Take it. Open yourself up to the mercy. The fact is that the Lord's there. The Lord's willing to cleanse you. The price is simply to sing and dance and chant and ecstasy, associate with a higher type of person, eat vegetarian food, which has been offered to the Lord. What's not to like? Krishna is attractive. The name Krishna means all attractive. And it is said by Srila Sanatana Goswami that Krishna is the soul of all superior qualities. What are qualities that we aspire for? Calmness, imperturbability, be able to think on your feet, unflappability. That's just a quality. That's just an abstract concept. But that comes to life on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Krishna is the chariot driver of Arjuna. The opponents are arrayed on the other side of the field, ready to fight, to kill Arjuna and his brothers. Arjuna asks Krishna, Seneor obriya ratam stapi yavanetadana kama yoda idrisha. Krishna, please drive my chariot between the two armies so I can get a closer look at those who are intent on killing us. Krishna happily obeys. There the chariot sits between the two armies. And as Arjuna surveys his teachers, Dronacharya, Bhima, his cousin brothers, his students, he loses heart. He begins to tremble. He starts to cry. He drops his bow. He becomes completely undone. He says, Krishna, I don't know what to do. There's too much pressure here. If I go this way, I see so many problems. If I go the other way, I see so many problems. Seems like I'm between a rock and a hard spot. Whatever I do, there's going to be grief. There's going to be suffering. Arjuna is a veteran of many, many battles. He's a hero. He's a champion. He's undefeated. And yet when he faces his own relatives and friends, his teachers, he says, Katam Bhishma Mahang Sanke Drona Cha Madhusadana Isubi Prachyotsani Pujaro Arisudana. Arjuna's whole training in that culture was to respect elders in general, but to give specific respect to those elders who taught him everything he knew. He's looking at Bhishma, his mentor, grandfather, Dronacharya. He says, I'm more inclined to throw flowers at them than I am to shoot arrows. I'm more inclined to worship them than to fight for them. Arjuna loses his cool, he loses his calm, he becomes fuzzy-minded, confused. Therefore he looks to Krishna. Krishna's cool, calm, smiling, musing, no doubt, about these humans, these mortals. And then when finally Arjuna just surrenders, Sishyas Teham Sari, Krishna, I'm present. We were talking as friends, more or less on an equal level. That wasn't working for me. So now I want to become your disciple. I want to give up my speculations, and I want you to now pour into me your wisdom, your insights, your take on the situation. And therefore, I bow to you and I present myself. Sishya. Sishya is a Sanskrit word from which we get the English word disciple. And then Krishna begins to speak, and under the most tense and suspenseful set of circumstances, under the most harrowing conditions, just before the eve of a great war. Krishna's smiling. The sound of his voice is like the mellow rumbling of clouds on an August afternoon. 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita speaks, pouring calm, confidence, peacefulness. Good morning, Sundari Priya, Russell, Anjali, thank you all for joining us. We're on the battlefield with Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna's bringing calm and perspective back to Arjuna. See, when we can talk about calm, we can talk about perspective, we can talk about unflappability, but it's just words. Krishna is the soul of all superior qualities. Krishna personifies those qualities, and as such, he brings them to light. Psychology nowadays is obsessed with abnormal behavior, aberrant, perverse behavior. If you go into the field of psychology, I'm sure Pavan Mataji, who's a professional psychologist, would agree with me. Psychology has over much to do today with deviant behavior. Abraham Maslow suggested psychology should not start from the lowest, the most bizarre human beings with the most twisted modes of behavior. What do we have to learn from that? What do we have to gain from that? How did they get that way in the first place? Well, Maslow suggests it was a lack of good role models. It was a lack of good archetypal personalities after which young people could model themselves. And failing those who personify the good qualities, who bring them to life, we have all kinds of weird and bizarre patterns of behavior, which are now studied by all the psychologists. But perhaps the correction to the problem and the direction in which we should thrust our time and energies is on those who behaved in an ideal way, who exhibited coolness and calmness and perspective and intelligence, mercy, graciousness, generosity. Another example, we talk about humility. It's just a word. What does it mean to be humble? Oh, poor old me. I'm just nothing. I just do my little old bit. That's not really humility. That's false humility. Krishna, when he was on the planet, as the soul of all superior qualities, put a face, put a behavior to humility. When Mars Yudhisthira prepared to do the Rajasuya sacrifice, the greatest of all sacrifices, part of performing the Rajasuya sacrifice involves hosting all the world leaders, putting them up nicely, giving them gifts, receiving them, feeding them for the duration of the sacrifice. So all the leaders of the world arrived at Indrapast, and the Pandavas divided up. Nakula took care of their horses. He took the horses of the incoming guests to the stables, brushed them, watered them, groomed them, fed them nice quality grains. Sahadev gave them cows in charity. Draupadi had gifts arranged for them. Each one got a gift basket. Bhima took care of the kitchen so that everyone was sumptuously fed. But what did Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, do? The strongest, the best looking, the wealthiest, the most famous, the most intelligent. What did this person do? He washed the feet, folks, of all the incoming guests. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Aham sarvasya prabhava matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajanti mam Buddha bhava samam, who is worshipped by great saints and demigods, from whom comes everything material and spiritual, on whom everything rests as pearls are strung in a thread. That personality put the soul to the quality of humility by personally washing the feet of all the incoming guests. Now, let's not forget, Krishna knows everything, past, present, and future. Vedaham samatitani bhartamani chart bhavishani chaburi mam tu veda nakastana. Krishna says, I know everyone. Past, present, and future, I'm in everyone's heart, but me no one knows. So don't you think Krishna knew that many of those incoming guests whose feet he was washing would in the future conspire against, betray, cheat his favorite devotees out of their kingdom and try to kill them in many different ways? Krishna was aware of that, being aware of everything. And yet he still bowed down and washed the feet of the incoming guests. The fact that they would get off track in the future, the fact that they would commit crimes against his pure devotees in the future, did not stop Krishna from exercising humility as they arrived at the palace of Hastinapur. Humility, forgiveness, kindness, these things should always be practiced. Even if you might deem that the recipient is unworthy, you need to do these things for yourself. You need to not divide people into friends, enemies, and neutral parties in your mind. Because if you do that, your mind will always be in turmoil. You'll always be upset. You'll never be at peace. You need to give people the benefit of the doubt. Until they actually do something, you need to treat them with great respect. And even after they do something, it doesn't mean if they betray or stab you in your back, then you just slough it off and embrace them and say, let's be best friends, move into the in-law apartment next door. No, you're wary, you're cautious of people that have done you wrong. But you need to forgive them, not for their sake. They're going to get their karma, their just results. But you don't want to be dragged down by other people's behavior. So Krishna was not going to let himself be affected by knowing that in the future, these people, Jarasandha, Sisupal, Sakuni, Karna, that in the future they would commit great crimes. It is said, trust no future, however pleasant or however unpleasant. Let the dead past bury the dead. Act in the living present, heart within and God overhead. And that's all we have. It's the present. Krishna puts the soul to the idea of being fully present in the present. Puts the soul to the idea of forgiveness, mercy, gracefulness, graciousness, and kindness. All those qualities after which we aspire, they come to life in the person of Lord Krishna. And therefore, one appellation for Krishna is Gunatma. Gunata can mean rope, it can mean chains, but it can also mean transcendental quality. So guna, when it refers to ordinary living beings, is divided into sattvas, rajas, and tamas. There are three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we conditioned living beings fall under the influence of these three modes of material nature and assume bodies amongst the 8,400,000 species of life. Those gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas are the ropes which bind us to repeated birth, death, disease, and old age in this material world. And Krishna is often described as nirguna. Krishna does not have ropes. Even he comes to this material world, he does not come under the influence of the modes of material nature. He comes in his original transcendental form. Just like three basic colors, I forget what they are. You could tell me: red, green, yellow. I don't know. Those three colors combine in various ways to create millions and millions of colors. All the colors, and there are millions and millions of them, derive basically from three colors. Similarly, there are 8,400,000 species of life spread throughout the material creation, and they are just different, represent different combinations of goodness, passion, and ignorance in different proportions and different combinations. So all the living beings who are embodied, who are conditioned in this material world, are bound up by the modes of material nature in the 8,400,000 species of life. But the Lord, when he comes, he does not come with a body which is a byproduct of association with the modes of material nature. He comes in his original spiritual body, and he embodies all good qualities. Aishwarya Samagrasha, Viryasha. Glad to see Prashant's here with us this morning. Vaibhavi tells us the three basic colors are red, yellow, and blue. Thank you for that. I always forget. Prashant is weighing in now with many of the quotes so you can reconstruct the pathways that we're taking this morning. Anyway, Aishwarya Samagrasha is spoken by Parasara Muni to indicate the opulences of the Godhead: wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and humility. Isn't it stunning, in fact, that though Krishna is the most intelligent, the most wealthy, the most good-looking, the most powerful, along with all of that, I find it absolutely jaw-dropping that as there's no one more intelligent than Krishna, as there's no one more powerful than Krishna, as there's no one more wealthy than Krishna, as there's no one more famous than Krishna, as there's no one more beautiful, there is also no one more humble than Krishna. Who has more of a right to strut and swagger than Krishna? Who has more of a right to expect us all to hit the dirt, eat rice, and grovel before him? After all, he's the Lord. And we're his infinitesimal parts and parcels. He's like the sun, and we're like a little particle of sunshine. He's like the gold mine, and we're just like a little gold stud in the ear. So his position is supreme, and our position is subordinate. And that's the way it should be. But the fascinating thing is that Krishna does not expect our service. He does not go around expecting us to serve him. He does not take it for granted. You remember the famous quote of Marie Antoinette when the French people came clamoring below her balcony and said, we're hungry, give us something to eat. And she said, what, you don't have bread to eat? And they said, no, we don't have bread. And then she said, well, why don't you eat cake then? What a sarcastic, condescending way to speak to the subjects over whom the queen is meant to be the mother and the caretaker. What exploitation! No wonder the royalty was dragged down during that era and fitted underneath the guillotine because they had just lost touch with their responsibilities and with the people for whom they were supposed to be watching out. Krishna's not like that. He recognizes your free will. He recognizes that at any given point in time, you have so many options. You have so many choices, especially in this day and age, technological so-called advancement. So when you take the time out to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, or visit the temple on Sunday instead of watching football on the television, Krishna is delighted. He's pleasantly surprised. He wasn't expecting. He was saying, yeah, you're here. You came to the temple. That's what you should be doing. I'm your Lord. You're the servant. And you're right where you should be. No, he doesn't think like that. He doesn't talk like that. He doesn't act like that. When you come to the temple, he acknowledges that you have freely exercised your free will in the favor of devotional service. And Krishna says, oh, for me, how nice. And that's why Nahabrikama Nasusi Pratyabhai Shwapambhyasya Trayatayamato, even a tiny measure of devotional service saves one from the greatest danger. Why? Because Krishna takes the smallest effort on your part and makes a big deal out of it. What do? We take someone's greatest efforts to please us and we minimize it. What have you done? You haven't done anything. What have you done? It's the difference between us and God. He's high-minded, he's gracious, he's loving, and we're petty nitpickers. Here we find this verse, Prashant. Welcome, join us. Welcome, Lakshmi Nasringa. We're honored. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope we can say something helpful. John Malik, our music teacher in Utah. This is from the 14th verse in the 29th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Nrinam nisrayasyartaya Bhaktir Bhagavato Nirpa Avyayasya Prameyasya Nirgunyasya Gunatmanam. You hear the word guna, nirguna and gunatmanam throughout that verse. O King, the Supreme Lord is inexhaustible, avyaya, and immeasurable, apremeyasya, because he is the controller of the modes of material nature. His personal appearance in this world is meant for bestowing the highest benefit on humanity. He puts a face, a name, a behavior pattern to all good qualities. Sometimes the impersonalists, the monistic school, they hear Krishna being described as nirguna. That means, guna means qualities, virtues, character traits, and nir means to negate it or without. So the impersonalists, they describe the Lord as without personality, without character, without quality. When in fact nirguna means without bonds, without chains, without being bound up by the modes of material nature, without having taken a conditioned body of flesh and blood, bones and stool and urine as a result of past karma. Krishna is apart from all that. He's aloof from all that. That's what nirguna means. Nirguna does not mean that Krishna is without hands, without legs, without integrity, without humility, without wealth. And that completely misses the whole point. And Prabhupada spent a lot of time pointing out the holes in the monistic, non-dualistic philosophy of the monists, headed up by Sankaracharya. Because if you take God as without qualities, you miss out on the wonderful opportunity to love him, to serve him, to associate with the devotees, to chant his holy names, to light yourself up with bliss and satisfaction and purposefulness and meaning by sharing the glories of the Lord. Last night I couldn't help but chuckle. We have a Sunday feast, and I read a book a few years ago by Rick Warren from Saddleback College called Purpose Driven Church. And I really appreciate it because one of the points he made was that your services, your weekend services, are for first-time comers. Basically, that's. There are plenty of other activities and functions during the week where you have classes and discuss specific verses, and you have breakout groups for youth groups and for recovering addicts and divorcees. You do all that during the week, but your Sunday service, your weekend service, is basically meant for first-time people. So one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to hold them too long in the worship hall. You want to get them in, be quick, be concise, give them a favorable first impression, not belabor it, not extend it, not prolong it beyond their ability to tolerate it. And remember, they don't have much tolerance. This is the first time they've crossed your threshold. So what I always try to do is keep our program to an hour, 15 minutes of chanting when people arrive, a maximum of 30-minute talk, and then 15 more minutes of chanting arti before we go downstairs. So I gave the talk, we had the chanting, we're just about to go downstairs, and I told everyone, I said, we didn't open it up for questions. And they kind of do this differently from many Hare Krishna temples. I said we didn't open it for questions because we wanted to keep it tight. And if you just came to get a taste of the Hare Krishnas, there you are. This is our package. 15 minutes of chanting, 30-minute talk, 15 minutes of chanting, and you're free to go now if you want. But if you want to stay, we have a nice feast. Please join us for the feast. And I will be going around to the tables soliciting your questions. So please think of questions. Don't think that because we didn't ask for questions during this concise, condensed service that we're not interested in your questions. We're keenly interested in your questions. But at the same time, we don't want to belabor the service and make it longer than your ability to tolerate if you're coming for the first time. But let me tell you that I will be going around asking if you have any questions on anything you smelled or saw or heard or tasted here. And I said, I want to encourage you. Someone once said, and I believe it's true, that if you ask a Hare Krishna question, He lights up. He gets the same approximate amount of satisfaction that an ordinary person would get if you offered him $5,000. So later on, I went up to this group of 5 young people. I said, "Do you have any questions?" They said, "Yes, we do. Yes, we do." And they each asked 1 or 2 questions. And then one of the boys said, "We just gave you $30,000 worth of bliss." And I said, "You did indeed." And we all laughed and lit up. And then I went to the next table to get another $10,000. And the next table, it was honestly, words can't describe how wonderful these evenings are where people come for the first time. And I just pray that Krishna give me the intelligence to handle it right, because you can treat a first-time comer wrong in a number of different ways. And I'm glad that I got some indicators from Rick Warren, because that's a very successful church, and I was able to learn from what he did to adopt some of these principles here. And as far as I can tell, they do work. So the Lord comes down. He exhibits himself in a body which is not material, which is not conditioned by the modes of material nature. And that's what nirguna means. It means he's not like us. He's not conditioned like us. But nirguna also means, from the positive point of view, that he doesn't have material qualities, he doesn't have material conditions. However, he does have qualities. In fact, he's the reservoir, he's a repository of qualities. But his qualities are not like ours. Our qualities are limited. Our qualities are finite. Beauty, wealth, knowledge. I enjoy so much learning verses and keeping my mind nimble and active. Saw a TED talk recently about a doctor. She talked about neuroplasticity. So you always have to challenge your mind. Keep the nerve endings flexible. Learn new things every day. And even though your body will age and there will be a tendency to lose your memory and lose your mental agility, you can stave that off. You can hold that off by doing exercises every day. Learn verses, chant the Maha Mantra very, very attentively, discuss. Keep your mind flexible. This is neuroplasticity. So we try to do that. We try to keep our mind active. We try to challenge it by learning different verses every day. But inevitably, as the body ages, the nerve endings also age. So inevitably, forgetfulness will seep in. There'll be those blank spaces, like, where did the last 5 minutes go? There's nothing we can do about that. So as erudite as we may be, and that is a reflection from God's erudition, from God's knowledge. We borrow plumes from him. It's temporary. It's small, it's infinitesimal, and it's temporary. We're eventually going to become overwhelmed by old age, disease, and eventually death. But Krishna's intelligence is abhayam. It is infallible. And it is apremasya. It is inexhaustible. Sometimes we'll major in college, or we'll take graduate courses in business or chemical engineering or electrical engineering. In other words, it's pretty much required of us that we specialize, because we can't know everything. So most people in the college academic system, they limit their focus and attention in studies to one particular area after learning which they can then make a living in that area. But Krishna knows everything. He knows everything about everything. His knowledge is inexhaustible. It is also immeasurable, and it is not conditioned by physical nerve endings and the physical limitations of the mind. Now, those who associate with the Lord, those who attach themselves to his lotus feet and hang on for dear life, they also display and reflect those same spiritual qualities. They put themselves apart from the material world. Although they may be embodied, they have a current physical body which will get sick, which will grow old, which will die. We've lost some of our most wonderful devotees here during the COVID pandemic. But the spirit self is eternal, It is Satchidananda, full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. So whatever befalls the body, the soul becomes more and more enriched. It steps into its own constitutional glory the more the dust is cleaned out of the heart, and the more that one comes closer, shelters under the Lord. It's like an ember that's been ejected from the fire. It has lain at some distance from the fire, and being removed from the fire, it has started to lose its heat, lose its qualities of light, but then it's replaced into the fire, and again it revives heat and light. Who knows how many lifetimes it's been that we've been separate from the Lord, but due to the mercy of God and Guru, Brahmanda Brahmite Kono, Guru Krishna Prashadi Pai Bhakti Latabi, somehow or other we became inquisitive. We got the human form of body, and we began to inquire, what is the real purpose of life? How did we get here? What do we do while we're here? And where we're going? And we got those answers from a realized soul. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So now we're moving back. We're moving as an ember back into the fire. We're getting where we were morose and gray-faced before. We're getting bright, and we're full of smiles. Where we were dull and laggard before, we're energized and full of enthusiasm now. There's been a transformation of heart as a result of contacting the fire of devotional service and getting ourselves back, as they say, in the fire. Krishna confirms that not only he but his devotees develop or reawaken all good qualities in the practice of devotional service. Here in the 26th verse of the 14th chapter, Krishna says to Arjuna, Mam Chava Buchodane Bhakti Yogini Sevate Sagunam Samatichaitam Brahma Bhuya Kalpate. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, as gold particles are part of the gold mine, similarly the living entity in his spiritual position is as good as gold, is as good as Krishna, at least in quality. The difference is that Krishna is infinite qualities. We are infinitesimal. But we are individuals, the both of us. And as individuals, the dynamic of bhakti yoga, of service, connects us eternally. The exchange of love and service and reciprocation causes our individuality, our uniqueness, our specialness to manifest itself in terms of reflection and reciprocation and interchange between ourselves and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We'll just finish with this example. Prabhupada said that if you decorate the person, the reflection of that person in the mirror is also decorated, isn't it? If you put a nice top piece and nice scarf and nice dress or nice coat on the person, then the reflection is also beautified. So we are not the whole, we are the parts. Krishna is the Supreme Person, and it is not in our best interest to decorate ourselves, to concern ourselves overly much with our beauty, our fame, our knowledge, because we are not the basis of reality. We're not the source of ourselves. We're reflections. We're particles from the Supreme. So we find our deepest satisfaction in beautifying the deity form of the Lord, in singing songs to the deity form, in decorating the deity form with nice alankrita ornaments, mukuts, vashtam, and clothes, and offering beautiful food to the Lord for his satisfaction, then taking the remnants, yagyashi stastina santo munchate sarvakilbashi munjate teugam ye pachanti atmakarana. Everything for Krishna. That is the sum and substance of devotional service. And the more that Krishna becomes satisfied, the more that Krishna is beautified, the more that Krishna is pleased by the service of the devotees, the more the devotees are beautified, the more the devotees are enriched with transcendental knowledge, peace, joy, meaning, purposefulness, and satisfaction. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lakshmi Nrsimha, thank you for your comment, insight, and shastric blessings. Yes, we like to follow any shastric evidence with personal examples of 50 years of trying in our own faltering way to follow in the footsteps of the great acharyas. We have an experience or two which we'd like to leave behind as our legacy, not take them with us and have them be forever lost to posterity. We learn as much from our shortcomings and our failings as we do from our successes. So this is our humble effort in our waning autumnal years to share whatever we've learned with others. So thank you for that. Thank you, Prashant, for all of your comments. Let's see who's liked. We don't know who's come and gone, but if you took the trouble to hit the like button, we've got a list of you here. Chaitanya Mangalam, Jimmy and Taruni, Prashant, Malik, Lakshmi Nrsimha, Partha Govinda, Sundari Priya, Russell, Radhe Sham, Ekanath, thanks for joining us, Dibya Joshi, Suraj Sharma, Pratik Tripathi by Bobby Sanjay, Jean Eskelson, Justin Sorensen, and then one more outside. Thanks very much for starting the week off with us, hopefully in the right way. This has been Motivational Monday. We'll be back 23 hours from now with Transcendental Tuesday, some more Shastic references, and by Krishna's grace, as long as my mind remains spry, some personal insights as well. Please join me in signing off with the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.